Mumbai-based engineer Soham Parik was allegedly working at multiple Silicon Valley startups at the same time. People found out, they called him out on Twitter, and it spread like wildfire. Companies and founders rushed in with their Soham Parik stories of either receiving a mail from him, interviewing him, working with him, and firing him. But I saw something that everyone else is missing. I think Soham Parik just showed us a little view into the future of work. I don't think he just gamed the system, he exposed it. So, if you're done discussing how crazy this sounds, here are 3 big takeaways that I have from this situation that will change the way you think about work forever. The first lesson isn't about ethics, it's about efficiency. How did one person fool multiple world-class companies into hiring him? Suhail Doshi, the founder of Playground AI, is the one who actually called Soham out and talked about how he was scamming YC companies and that Suhail himself had hired him once and fired him soon after. Now, if your hiring process could not detect the fact that this person was working multiple jobs, then what does it say about your process? If one person could land multiple jobs at top startups in the world, what does that say about the hiring theater that most of us participate in? Most people, when they're looking for jobs, they look at what LinkedIn throws at them, and it's almost like, a lottery system that you'll go and apply to multiple jobs and expect a call from some of them. Soham treated it like a system to be optimized. He researched on companies, he found out the products that they were making, he found out where his skill sets would help improve the products, and then he reached out in a personalized manner, going around the whole job portal LinkedIn application process. And that's lesson number 1. The system rewards those who understand it better, not those who follow it blindly. Here's where it gets really interesting. Soham was allegedly working at multiple startups, which means that he was doing the job of multiple full-time software engineers. He was clearly working alongside other engineers who were given, let's say, a task for a week, and clearly Soham was given a similar amount of work every week. But he was able to not just do his work from one startup, but was able to actually do work at 3 to 4 startups. Now, if he was able to do work for 3 to 4 engineers in a week, what does that say about how we divide work? The uncomfortable truth that you and me already know is that most knowledge workers like us spend only about 2 to 3 hours of focused work in a day. And this is absolute no distraction, head down focused work every day. Everything else is meetings, waiting for approvals, waiting for a report to come in, and a lot of social media, spending time on Reddit, wasting time. Well, what Soham did is he essentially batched similar tasks across multiple companies. Hence, he was able to reduce inefficiencies that plague traditional employment. So most of us are working at only 25 to 30% of our actual capacity. Not because we are lazy, but because the traditional work employment structure is optimized for presence, not performance. Look at most senior executives. You'll find that they're on board of multiple companies, they're consulting many others, and many of this is also paying them in actual money. But if they do it, it's basically expertise diversification. But when an employee does it, that's fraud. Employees are expected to give exclusive loyalty to the company, while the company reserves the right to downsize, restructure, and right size their companies whenever it suits their bottom line. This is not a fair arrangement. We know this as a fact. For decades, companies have treated employees as dispensable resources that can be, downsized or increased based on the demands of the market. They've pushed workers to generate asymmetrical value for the company while only receiving symmetrical returns. Now that some workers are playing the system, there's this sudden outrage from companies talking about ethics and loyalty. About time, huh? The primary question isn't just whether Soham was loyal to his employers, but whether employers have been loyal to their employees, and the answer is uncomfortably clear. That brings us to the bigger picture. I think we are witnessing the early stages of a fundamental shift in the way work gets done. The Soham Parekh Effect isn't just an anomaly, it's a preview of what's coming. Ever since factories came around, it became the norm for working hours to be fixed because, in a factory, the more time you spend, the more the belt is running and the more goods are being produced. But when we moved from factories to knowledge work and desk jobs, we actually carried the same concepts. We were still measuring productivity by the amount of hours that you spent on the desk than what you actually accomplished. Digging deep into the rabbit holes, I came across this subreddit called Overemployed. The subreddit has close to 500,000 people, and this is a community of people who are working more than one job. So this isn't just a few outliers gaming the system. This is a movement that has already started. The future belongs to people who look at their work as service, not as an employee. So instead of selling your time, you sell your outputs. Instead of being owned by one company, you work with multiple clients. And instead of optimizing for hours, you optimize for result. While going through the subreddit in Overemployed, I was particularly struck by this post by a person who just gotten their second job. He suddenly felt this weight lifted off his chest because now he was not completely dependent on one job. His entire life wasn't hanging by a single thread, a single source of income. If you're an employee and if you worked at a company maybe in the past or you're currently working, you know the fact that even if nobody's mentioned it to you, there's always this looming subdued pressure that this is the only source of income you have and you better not lose it. And that's scary. That's a stressed way to live. It can't be the future. So here is a small practical way to do it. When you go to work next, write down what your company expects from you, not your job, but actual deliverables. Like what is it that you're expected to deliver for them? If you don't understand, you can go ask your boss, tell him to write it on a piece of paper. And then ask yourself, can you deliver this value to other companies out there without compromising quality? And that's the new economy. And the most successful professionals will be the ones who understand their core skill set, understand how to, convert that into an output value that you can deliver to companies and scale that across multiple opportunities. Companies can fire Soham Parekh, tweet about him, talk about how this was unethical, but what they cannot do is ignore the underlying trend. AI is making workers more productive. Some of them can manage now multiple jobs at the same time while not compromising at all on quality. Remote work has proven that location doesn't determine output. And a generation of workers who've realized that loyalty to employers isn't reciprocated when the market turns. The Soham Parekh Effect isn't about one person gaming the system, but rather a system that is ready for an upgrade. So the future of work isn't about working harder. It is about working smarter, thinking bigger, and understanding the fact that your skills are assets to be optimized, not time to be sold. So this is to all the CEOs and employers out there. If you want to blame something, blame the system, not the player. And whether you're ready or not, the system is changing and we are ready for it. But the question is, are you?